Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give. I'm one of the hosts, Bob, and that's the other host right there, Kumar. Our favorite holiday, I know we've talked about this in the past, Kumar, that our favorite holiday for both of us actually just passed, and it's Thanksgiving, of course, for those that are listening. But this Thanksgiving for me was pretty awesome because I have 4 grandkids, I have 4 kids, and I got to see all of them on Thanksgiving, and my oldest son and his wife had the meal at their house this year, and they catered it, and we had something I never had before in my entire life, Kumar. We had turkey burnt ends as part of the meal, and I never heard of them before Thursday. They were amazing.
What? Yeah, tell me more about that, Bob. I don't know what a turkey burnt end is. I don't know what that is.
I didn't know what it was either. So they like I said, they catered it, and this pan of food comes out, and it looked like little chunks about the size of your thumb, but they looked like they were burnt. And I said, "What is that?" And my son goes, "It's burnt end turkey." And I'm like, "I'd never heard of burnt end turkey." He goes, "Try one before you complain about it." So I'm like, "All right, I will." I popped one in my mouth, and I popped another one in my mouth, and I told people, "Stay away. These are all mine." They were delicious. You would think that since they looked like they were burnt, that they would be dry, but they were like little morsels of yumminess just pop it in your mouth, man.
Is that dark meat or white meat or what is that? Is it meat?
It was both. I think I don't know how the guy did it, but it was dark meat and light meat or white meat, and it was just a beautiful taste. It was smoked. It had the flavor of smokiness, but it was just so moist and delicious, and everybody loved it. Everybody enjoyed it. I wish I could have taken some home. That's how good it was.
I've never had it. I love turkey. We got it catered as well at our house in Chicago, my sister's house. I was there for Thanksgiving, as I usually am every year. We get it catered as well. We do brisket as well as turkey.
That would be beautiful. That would be
Instead
awesome.
of cooking a whole turkey, we just get slices of moist white meat turkey catered and already cut in slices, which is pretty good, perfectly cooked from a restaurant. And then we get brisket. This year the brisket was dry. I didn't like it very much.
That's unfortunate because brisket is great. And all this talking about food, I'm hungry.
I know. And we made leftover turkey pot pie today.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so that was really good. We went to the store, bought some Marie Callender's already frozen pie crust at the bottom, and bought some Pillsbury dough pie thing for the top. And then we bought, you put cream of mushroom soup, you put carrots and peas and turkey in there. And then something else that we did was we bought potato and chicken cream-based soup, Campbell's soup, and we put that in there. It was really tasty. I've done that as a traditional thing number of times. It was really tasty. And so I love turkey pot pie. Growing up in Minnesota, turkey and chicken pot pies were my favorite. I remember they used to be like $1 for a pot pie. Now they're like $5 or $6.
You used to be able to get 3 of them for $1 back in the day.
That's what I thought.
At good old Red Owl grocery store, and then they went to $1, and now I think there's like 2 for $5 or something like that. And just making them from scratch is way better.
Yeah, making them from scratch is way better, and it's not that hard nowadays. They give you pie crust and dough and all that stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah,
so, you talk.
Grateful. Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you were talking about being in Illinois and Chicago and seeing your family. Let's talk about being grateful and the trip and spending time with family and whatnot.
Pretty amazing for me. Got a number of texts from friends, and I shared some texts myself with some friends. Obviously, you as well. How grateful I am. It's been. I've been reading a lot about words, and as we've done this journey for the last 2 years almost, certain words, certain feelings, certain emotions. And being grateful is it's been proven to scientifically alter our brain to be able to have the right brain chemicals associated with it and happiness. I was in an event recently as well, and the topic was gratitude, and a lot of people benefit from having a gratitude list. A lot of people, as a way to share their emotions and shift their mindset, practice gratitude on a daily basis, and I do as well. I have a gratitude list with some guys that I do every morning. I didn't actually write it today yet. I'm pretty tired since I got back yesterday from Chicago. But yeah, gratitude list is a huge thing, and I love Thanksgiving for it. It's this wonderful time of the year. Starts off the holiday season as well, and so very grateful for family and friends, and so for me, we talk about mindset shift, and we talk about how we can change our feelings through emotions, and we can be directive, and how we can do that. How we talked about mindset and spiritual mindset. Gratitude is one of the best ways that we can shift our mindset. And I think our attitude determines our altitude and how far we go in life. And one of the best ways we can do that is through managing our emotions and our feelings. And gratitude goes a long ways. So today I wanted to talk about gratitude, changing emotions. And then I was listening to a podcast yesterday by a guy that I've known for probably 20 years, Bruce Lipton. And I've also been listening to a lot of podcasts and reading about manifestation for the last few years, practicing meditation and manifestation and things like that, the things that people go after their dreams and their goals. I feel like I am not a master of manifestation, but I feel I'm pretty good at it. It starts with simple things like manifesting a parking karma. And so I always feel like I get the best parking spots, and it
Yeah.
seems to be true everywhere I go. I went to a Trader Joe's today, and
Right.
in the parking lot there, and I sometimes I get like, oh, maybe a parking karma is not that good, but it's so ingrained in me that my parking karma is good. Even though I'll have doubts, I'll find the best parking spot, and I did close to the store today again in a very busy
Mhm.
parking lot. So, yeah, I feel like I can manifest a lot, and I've been able to manifest certain things, and so we'll talk about that. Do you, from a manifestation standpoint, do you fully understand what that word stands for and what
Oh,
what it means for the general knowledge or general public?
yeah,
Maybe we can talk about
absolutely,
that.
I do. It's funny because I think that we've talked about this in the past that a lot of times if like I took today off work because it was my grandson's birthday, so I took today off work, and I was supposed to have a Santa gig yesterday, and it got canceled because we had bad weather. It got moved to next week, so I mean I'll do it, but I count on my my money that I make for with tips. Well, taking today off work with the thought of yesterday being Santa, that I was going to have money there. I was thinking I was thinking that, gosh, I'm not going to have any money this week. Well, we had the snow yesterday. Somebody actually reached out to me and asked me if I could plow their driveway for them. So I plowed somebody's driveway, and that made the money that I would have made yesterday being Santa. So I manifested, you know what I mean, just by thinking about it and thinking positive instead of being, damn it, I'm not going to have any money this week. Something will pop up, and it did. It popped up, and I was able to do that. So I mean, I thought that was kind of a manifestation type of a thing, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. So manifestation for me means the ability to create what I want in my life. And there are two major things that happen for us as human beings in our mind, right? There is the conscious mind that consciously does our routine slash daily activities and our thoughts that come in, right? The
Mm-hmm.
conscious mind, consciously, we do certain things like get up in the morning, take a shower, get ready for work or for a day off or whatever. And we consciously go about our activities for the day. Then there's the subconscious mind that does things automatically, like our habits and things that we automatically do, like breathe, walk, drive a car in such a way. So they're ingrained programming in our brain that we do things automatically. So Bruce Lipton was talking about, he's a scientist, a biologist, becoming a quantum physics expert on mind body science world. And he has talked a lot about the subconscious mind, and how to change certain things. I was
Mm-hmm.
also listening to a guy on a different podcast about a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, Jim Duddy, I think it is. He's a neuroscientist out of Stanford. Uh, and he was talking about controlling your subconscious mind and manifesting. And then the week before that, I was listening to The Secret, the woman who founded The Secret, and she was talking about the law of attraction. Have you heard about this? The book, The Secret.
I have not.
This woman, Rhonda Barney, I don't know how to say her name, created this movie called The Secret. And The Secret is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction in the universe is you are what your thoughts are, and you create through a magnetic field whatever it is in your mind that
Mm-hmm.
you want to create through the energy that you put out in the universe. You attract what you think about.
Oh,
There's a thing called the retinal activation system. So, for example, I drive a Porsche car SUV, and everywhere I go, I happen to notice a Porsche SUV.
yep,
And I'm sure you do that with your car as well, right?
yep, I do. Yep.
Yeah. What kind of car do you have? And
I drive a Kia Sorento
okay, but you see them all the time, right?
all the time. Before I had my Kia, I didn't even know that Kia was, I mean, I knew that Kia was a thing, but I see Kias everywhere. And then when I was in New Zealand, I saw Kias everywhere there as well. You know,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of funny. And then I see the same color vehicle that I have, and I see,
yeah.
and the funny thing is being a bald man with a big beard, a bigger guy. I see a lot of guys that look like me as well. But I live in Wisconsin, so most guys look like me anyway.
No, that's called the retinal activation system. Retinal activation system has been around for a long time. We tend to notice things that are important to us, and we tend to attract certain things and see them. So I don't look for, when I had a Honda Accord, I used to see people who drove Honda Accords. I had a Highlander. We still have a Highlander at home. And so I notice people in a Highlander. I notice a particular model. If it's the same color car, I even actually look inside to see who's driving it. Are they like me or are they not?
Mm-hmm.
So the retinal activation system, you tend to notice things that are in your head that are closest to you. So if you're looking and focusing on things like gratitude, what you're grateful for, you tend to be happier. You tend to think of happiness things. You tend to be looking at people who are grateful. Now, if you want to focus on things like manifestation, things like abundance and money, we talked about that, right? A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
have different stories that they've written about money. A lot of people think that money is the root of all evil. A lot of people think that money is a great tool and can be very valuable in getting you what you want, the life of your dream. So, whatever it is in your head, you're going to attract. And what Bruce ends up talking about is most of our subconscious programming is done by the time we're 7 years old. And we are
Interesting.
programmed by our parents, not necessarily what they teach us by the time we're seven, by how they think and how they react and the patterns of action and communication that they use. We recognize that patterns of ways of being.
Yeah,
So, yeah, does that make sense?
yeah, it makes total sense.
We tend to be a lot like our parents, and you wonder, like, how come rich kids end up attracting and become wealthy, and how come kids with dysfunctional homes tend to be dysfunctional in their behavior? Kind of makes
Mm-hmm.
sense now a little bit more, right? People who are coming from these backgrounds, people who are, you know, sons or daughters of businessmen tend to become businessmen. Sons and daughters of a lot of actor and actresses tend to end up being in acting, and musicians tend to be musicians. It's because they've seen that programming of what it's like to be in a particular state. A lot of athletes, I know a guy who is an ex NFL player for the Seahawks, and his son is a superstar baseball star at the age of 14. He's playing with the 18-year-olds, and he's probably going to go pro right after high school. And so people are watching, seeing, and being based on the programming in their subconscious brain. I grew up for the first 10 years in India with my family and my father teaching me certain things. Like we'd go in the morning for morning swims in the little reservoir that we were living by. I was taught that my father was very successful. He was a dean of School of Science at a university. My grandfather was a judge. I grew up around this wealthy family, by Indian standards, not necessarily wealthy by U.S. standards. And so I always wanted to be successful. I saw success in my family's relatives and things like that. When I came to the U.S., we became relatively lower middle class. But I always wanted to be a businessman. I always wanted to be an author. I always wanted certain things because I knew that I could. My mom always said I was special, and a lot of times I always felt like I was special. You know what I mean? I didn't feel
I know
dysfunction.
exactly what you mean.
A lot of times people feel like, oh, I can't be that. I don't have the capability. I didn't have that kind of programming growing up. So thinking about it for the last few days and few weeks and a couple of years for sure, my programming in subconscious mind is you're going to go get a master's degree. You're going to go be successful. That's just the way we're brought up. And I think my kids have also seen adversity / success from me as well. Hey, you're brought up in this particular kind of culture or programming that you're going to go out and make stuff happen. And we've talked about my family members. One of my kids is very successful, right? Lives in San Francisco, is a rock star, things like that. So that's the kind of thing that breeds success. So manifestation is really about how do we get our subconscious programming. And if it's not the programming that we want, let's say we grew up in a dysfunctional family, how do we program ourselves to change that programming through our subconscious mind to be able to get what we want in life? That's really what it comes down to.
As you know, I just got back from a trip. I went to New Zealand. I was there for 2 weeks. That's why we haven't done the show in the last couple of weeks. I have had problems with my hip for the last couple of years. I'm going to end up needing a new hip in the future. And I told myself, to kind of based on what you're talking about, I told myself while I was on this trip that I wasn't going to bring up my hip one time. Yeah. I wasn't going to complain about it hurting. I wasn't going to complain about it throttling me in walking or in doing anything. So I basically put that out of my head while I was gone for those 2 weeks. And I'll tell you what, Kumar, the 2 weeks that we were gone, it didn't bother me. And now that I've been back, I've been kind of thinking, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe if I just keep thinking positive thoughts that my hip isn't bothering me, that I'm going to be able to maybe not have to go through surgery because it's I don't know if manifest is the correct word for it, but I've trained myself over those 2 weeks not to think about it, not to let it bother me, and it's really worked.
So actually, Bruce talks about health quite a bit. He talks about less about money, more about relationships, and then health. Those are the areas that he was dysfunctional in, if you want to call it that. Health is an interesting one. I also have a problem with my right frontal part of the hip, and I have a lot of pain when I walk and work out. But I've actually been shifting that a lot in the last 2 years. I've actually said, I don't actually have pain there. I'm fine. And so my pain has gone away a lot. It hardly ever hurts. I've kind of reprogrammed my And I think for people think the hip, they think the lower back, right?
Hmm.
Part of the hip. But it actually, people have surgeries on hips based on the front part of the hip. That's what I had learned from a friend of mine. And so I've actually been able to numb the pain and or have that issue go away in my life.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think there is a lot to be able to set. They say that our genes and our body and our cells regrow every year. All of them, the whole body. They also say that every few weeks, a lot of our cells are regenerated in such a way. And I definitely think you can reprogram ourselves. Bruce ends up talking about cancer and also about victimhood and things like that. And they've done research on this, and doctors in the Western medicine have come in and talked about, is it DNA, which is nature, or is it nurture, your environment and your behavior for health? Through science, they found out that there is a breast cancer gene that's out there in women. But the funny thing is, if you have that gene, only 50% of the women who have that gene tend to get cancer. Why doesn't everybody who have that gene get cancer? And the reason being is it's environmental. It's the programming, it's the stress that causes the stress in your body, the food that you take in, all those environmental effects. But tends to be that things that cause cancer are chronic stress on the body. So it's not necessarily the genetic DNA. Um, and I'm sure there's DNA genetics scientists that are going to argue with me on this, but if you were to do your research on it, you'd find out that environment and stress, things like alcohol and things like drugs and things like fatty foods and all of that dietary stuff makes a huge difference in our illnesses. And so you can actually consciously shift your disease manifestation and be more healthier if you were to be able to think at the DNA cell level. There's a Dr. Joe Dispenza that talks about this, and we've talked about Dr. Joe in the past. He
Yeah, I
talks a
remember
lot
that name.
about illnesses and medicine, and he had a bicycle accident where he was basically paralyzed. And through his consciousness and his mind shift, he was able to heal himself. He couldn't even
That's
walk.
cool.
And so he's one of the foremost experts on this mind body science thing. So there's manifestation at every different level. And the way that you get to that subconscious mind and the shift that is, you do it through getting your brain at when we're walking around and doing consciousness stuff, our brain is at the beta level. They call it beta waves. We're functioning in the beta wave environment. When we're in the alpha level, we tend to be relaxed. When we're at the theta level, we tend to be in that early onset of the sleep cycle, when we're kind of just in that dream phase, just starting out. Through meditation, most of the brain that when you're in the theta level. So right when you wake up, they say that's when you write down your journal. That's when you pray. That's when you're in the theta waves. So one of the things that I've talked about in the past is this chakra meditation and this getting the chakra system right.
Hmm.
And we talked about the breathing through your nose for 4 seconds, holding it in for 16, exhaling slowly for 8 seconds. If you do that 10 times, 10 reps, it takes about 7 or 8 minutes, right? You get yourself, close your eyes, you get yourself into a theta wave level. And at that point, you repeat affirmations like, I attract wealth, I am healthy, I'm deserving of love, I love myself. You tend to be, instead of saying I will, say I am. And you repeat those things in that theta wave system. And he and the guy who hosted the show yesterday on the podcast that I heard only reaffirmed for me all of the things that I have learned in the past. these affirmations that we've talked about, right? Another word for them that we talked about also is mantras, right? Mantras are just affirmations, but you repeat mantras over and over again. Affirmations you tend to not repeat as much. Mantras and repetition of mantras is really the key to embed in you and your subconscious the programming that you want. So if the relationship's not working, you say, I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of a better relationship with myself. I'm worthy of loving myself. I'm worthy of getting better relationships with other people, a romantic relationship, whatever it is. But you can't necessarily give out what you don't have. So if you want a loving relationship, you have to first love yourself first, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, right? So that's the kind of thing. So getting inside the subconscious mind is kind of through that deep Raja pranayam, breathing in through the nose, holding it in, letting go through your mouth, 10 reps. You get in the theta waves. And at that point, you repeat mantras like about the relationship piece or money. I attract wealth. One of the mantras that I use all the time is, I'm a magnet for abundance and success. Everything my heart desires come to me easily and effortlessly. I repeat that a lot.
Do you do that before you go to bed? Because I know that a lot of the stuff that you're talking about right now is stuff that I tend to, if I'm having a problem, if I have a problem with something I can't figure out a solution to, a lot of times if I think about it before I go to bed, have a good night's sleep, wake up, and I'm like, oh, you know what? If I do this, this, and this, it'll make that work. And a lot of times it works. So I'm able to figure stuff out. So I must get into that theta wave or whatever while I'm sleeping. Or a lot of times a lot of times the problems that I have in my life are figured out while I'm sleeping.
Exactly. You tend to be in the theta waves and when you sleep, right? And I believe it is the gamma waves even, which is even deeper. People can be in a sleep type wave of the brain when they're meditating. So even deeper than the theta waves. And that's why when you go to bed, you tend to embed these positive things in your mind, and then they'll result in a thought process and it'll result the next morning. Your brain and your soul or whatever it is, your brain mindset will change and solve that problem for you. People tend to get these insights into a shower as well, right? Because that's an activity that you're not spending a lot of time worrying about something, and you tend to be calm in nature and like, oh, in the shower I get these things. Or going out for a walk, you tend to get these insights about something in nature, right? So your brain tends to be relaxed, not a lot of distractions. And one thing you're not going to get it is in watching a Packer or Viking game, because there's so much going on.
Because somebody's throwing something at the damn television.
Exactly. You're not going to get that kind of a result, a thought process, when the brain is so active doing something in the brain beta wave, right? So it's getting yourself in the theta wave and then reprogramming through repetition. The Dr. Jim Duddy from Stanford, same with Bruce Lipton, repetition is the key. And that's why people who don't succeed in manifestation, they haven't done it long enough for the programming to become a habit and a set programming yet. They tend to give up much sooner.
I think that's the problem with everybody out there, Kumar. I think that a lot of times we give up right before greatness happens. I think a lot of time right before the miracle, a lot of people give up. You know what? Stick with it. Put your head down and go for it, you know, and especially with the manifestation thing, if you're thinking that that's going to happen and you keep manifesting that, it'll happen. There was a woman many years ago that won contest after contest after contest. I don't know if you've heard this or seen this on the internet, but this lady won a house, she won a car, she won a bunch of things, and she wrote a book about it. She basically just said every night before she went to bed, I am going to win that house. I am going to win that house. And then she did that with other things as well. And she ended up, you know, winning all kinds of things. People thought that she was cheating because she was winning so often. And it wasn't that. It was just the manifestation of the whole thing.
Exactly. It's the secret. The secret is law of attraction. You attract not necessarily what you think about. You attract what you think about more often. Mm-hmm. You tend to attract things in the subconscious mind. You're going to do certain things. You're going to put yourself in that position to get what you want. So you have to think about what you want and why you want it.
It may be what you want at the moment, but it's not what you need in your life.
Exactly. Gratitude is a great way to get your mind and your emotions feeling in a positive way. Makes you feel better. You can think on it. You can actually shift your mindset towards manifestation from gratitude. You get more of what you're grateful for. And to get in the manifestation, you've got to reprogram your subconscious mind through getting the brain into theta waves, through the ability of repetition of affirmations or mantras, doing that enough time that it gets ingrained in your programming your brain so you can take the appropriate actions. There's countless examples of people achieving great things. You literally can get whatever you want with the right level of programming and the right level of law of attraction if you put in the time and the effort in reprogramming your brain.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall Rise Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.